Hello, thank you all for coming out tonight. My name is Sammy Turner. In the school, I'm co-student vice president with my friend Bryce. I'm also the editor-in-chief of the Budget newspaper, and I'm the state chair of the Kansas High School Democrats. I'm also involved in a variety of other things, like debate and forensics and clubs.
And I'm Trevor Ariano. I'm in marching band, trumpet section leader. I'm a co-captain of the cross-country team. I'm also in Stuco, and I have volunteered at the Lawrence Memorial Hospital for 3 years. And me and Sammy actually both did a National History Day project over the history of Lawrence community with Conchals Raid. And we took that and participated at Nationals. And so we just wanted to reiterate that we are so involved in the school and the community, and we care about them so much. So we are going to go through 18 questions today, as you see on your sheet. We developed them by asking our peers mostly, but by a survey we sent out, a box in front of our lunchroom, and we also had Stuco curate some notes when they talked to Mama J over this issue a couple days ago. And I just wanted to point out that we aren't going to solve every problem today. Tonight we're just looking and brainstorming some possible solutions that could be implemented in the near future. And that the Lawrence High and Lawrence community can help those issues.
Yeah, tonight we want to set a precedent for the rest of the district and for the community that student voices are very important in dealing with this issue, and that we can come together and solve this and prevent this from happening again. Tonight we want to cultivate an image of what we want our future to be like, because we know we can be better. And even if your voice is not, if you're not in this circle, your voice still matters, and you still will be heard through your listening cards. So, as Trevor and I said, we deeply care about this community in Lawrence, and especially Lawrence High School, and we only have a semester left, and so it starts now to help improving the community. So let's get started. Okay, so our first question is, how much is safety on your mind given what has happened this past year?
Oh, okay. So, like I was saying, I think I speak for everyone here saying that safety is consistently on our mind. Watching the news is really terrifying. Watching the fate of some people that go to other schools and then trying to be okay coming to school every day. It's really frightening, especially with different changes in the school, like construction.
Yeah, going off what she said, high school in general, safety is a concern. You know, there's 1,600 people in this building daily, students in this building daily that come from different backgrounds, and we don't necessarily know what everybody's going through. So that's an immediate concern. And then with the incidents we've had recently, and as well as the incidents we had last year, that is just a growing concern for the student body.
I've noticed that I myself find myself a lot more often than I used to going into a building or going into a room. I plan my escape route. I plan where I'd hide. And this just sort of clicked like a week ago. And I think that's really sad that that's what I immediately go to when I enter a building. And that's not at all the fault of the school system or of anybody else. It's the fault of the terror that I really sometimes feel watching the news or hearing reports, or even hearing what's not reported and what's not gaining attention. There are so many incidents in schools that are never heard, and that's even more terrifying to me.
I think something that's been really upsetting me lately is that you hear a lot about weapons being brought to school, whether it's guns, tasers, sharpened screwdrivers lately. You know, people will ask me, the journalism people asked me last week, oh, you saw the kid who brought a gun being walked out of the cafeteria, how did that make you feel? And it pissed me off to say that, you know, it's normal. It's something that I see all the time now. And that's not what I want for this school. I don't want to just be feeling fine when a kid has brought a weapon to school and it jeopardized the lives of 1,600 people.
Yeah, so as we all agree, like, this is a very important issue and a prevalent one. And so how can the Lawrence community help decrease access to these weapons?
I think we really rely on parents and different figures that students look up to be the ones to talk to their students, because really it's usually family members, older people in students' lives that they're getting these weapons from and then bringing them to school. So you have to start at the root cause of the problem and really probably just form better relationships with your students and engage more with them.
I think of it as everyone here is so important, and we all have someone to go to. I think that's what every student here needs. I think that is what is the most important out of everything, is that someone has someone to go to, they can talk to about their problems. We have a wonderful mental health team, but it's still up to the teachers and up to other students and up to any other kind of adult to help others and talk to someone who, I don't know, is see a problem.
And then I've also got to say that I feel like whenever a student brings a weapon or a gun to school, some of that blame should also fall on the parents for the negligence of securing that firearm, and like there should be like a safe ammo out of the weapons and so on. The fact that students have access to these kind of firearms just like lying around in their house, that kind of that's very worrisome in my opinion.
Yeah, so that kind of goes into our next question. So is it a part of a parent's responsibility to make sure their children do not harm or endanger any other students?
I think that if you are a parent or a guardian of somebody, a student, that whether you have guns at your homes, that is up to you. That's a whole different argument. But just make sure that your student does not have access to it. Like you said, you can keep it in a safe. You can do whatever you need to make sure that your student is not endangering the lives of everybody else. But also, with that being said, recently, as people are talking about weapons being brought to school, me personally, I'm not concerned with my safety. I'm concerned with the safety of the individual that brought it. Like, because individuals have been bringing weapons to school because they do not feel safe. And in my opinion, we are here in this building 5 days a week. Most of us see this building more than we are in our houses. So we should feel comfortable here in our own skin, no matter what is happening. So if there are individuals that do not feel safe here, that's a problem.
Trinity, you bring up a good point. So what can the Lawrence community do to help students feel comfortable about asking help when they feel endangered?
Okay, so I've been doing some work on this topic exactly, and I came up with, I call it the TIP program, Threat Intervention and Prevention. And so what I was thinking is, the three students that brought the weapons to school this year, whenever they were asked why they brought it, they told that they felt like they still had to come to school, and that they were threatened at school, but they had to come to school, so they wanted to protect themselves. So what I was thinking is, we kind of like the virtual school, where if you feel threatened, you can come to like an administrator or the principal, and then you can ask them to give you like this like 5-digit code, and it gives you a program on the computer where all like the teachers have all of their classwork and tests are online, so that way you can still get all your work done, but you can like be at home until you feel like there's like no threat or anything. Like you can be there for a week or two, and then you can come back to school, and hopefully that will help solve the problem.
I would say just reaching out to students in general would help. Kind of what the community could do is just, instead of like judging students when something like this happens, is think of the reason why this happened and why they felt like this was necessary to do. So like in incidents where students bring guns to school, what was the reason that they didn't feel safe talking to an adult? And I feel like that is, as a community and as a district, we need to focus on, and not just the fact of they brought it, let's move on.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it really has to be more than just one conversation. I think these students that feel unsafe and feel the need that they need to bring a weapon to school for self-defense really need more resources, different people to reach out to, more than just really parents or maybe their students.
What sort of additional resources do you think should be available?
I think it would be really helpful maybe if students knew, or at least knew their guidance counselors better, different people within the school that do have the resources to talk them through these problems, or, to initiate a conversation with people that make them feel unsafe.
I think it'd be really great if we had the mental health team check in with their students every once in a while, because I go in there for schedule changes, but that's about it. So if mental health team members just sit down and say, hey, how are you doing? Asking kids like what's going on in their lives, and then if they're showing signs of like, they say, yeah, I'm okay, they're obviously not okay, and then you open up more conversation and you talk to them.
Dr. Lewis has mentioned this multiple times, but this truly is a community problem, and I think maybe a step towards training parents and students on weapons safety would be maybe offering classes for parents, offering a chance for parents to learn about that, as well as bringing that in to the elementary school and middle schools, talking about just driving home the point that this is not something that you use in a school setting, not something that you bring to school, and really talk about safety, because it's really up to the parents whether the weapons are there. Trinity said that, and that's pretty clear, but at the end of the day, it's the parents' responsibility as well as the students' responsibility, and honestly the district's responsibility to educate the students to know that that's not something that we welcome here.
As Bryce said, I agree, and I feel like as a community, we have become very reactive instead of proactive. When there's an issue that comes up, we take the measures to react. We know how to react properly, but what can we do to be proactive and before anything like this happens, just to make sure that it doesn't happen? So if you said have the mental health team check in, like that'll go a long way. There are so many people out here that need that needs to be checked up on.
Yeah, I think it's not fair when to tell when someone is acting off, especially in high school. So if adults or teachers or someone talks to the student in a class, I feel like they can see the warning signs pretty easily, and not to like target students out, but try and reach out to their parents or try and get help for someone's friends.
I agree with that as well, but also not to make a blanket statement, but the kids that are bringing the firearms to school are usually the ones not involved in the conversation. And I feel like if we were to do like the mental health checkups, like they wouldn't go to that kind of stuff. It just becomes one of those things that you just skip out on.
How do you think we could involve those students in the conversation?
One way that my school did is I went to a school previous to this one, sort of in here, and what we did is every like Wednesday, and up here it was, or at that school it was once a week, and so we had kind of like a homeroom, and then we had these little competitions. So it was a classroom of maybe 20, 30 students, and what they did is you had like a goal for that month, and you had to like do a project together, like not just as a class, but like you were actually like a group, and then we would get together and compete against different houses in like a fun activity to get everybody involved. And then I found out that the more I was in that class, the more I got to know the teacher, I got to know the students, and then like if I ever had any problems, that was the one teacher I could go to. So if we could do something like that, maybe where if students could feel like there's that one teacher that they can go to, I feel like that would really help with like the teacher-student relationship kind of thing.
Yeah, going off that, we were kind of digging through this last year when we had similar incidents, and one thing that was brought kind of to the table was that we used to have seminar at Lawrence High School, and so I think it was once a week, and it was essentially like a homeroom, like you were saying, and students would work on projects and meet with their like homeroom teacher, their seminar teacher, and they could also go see other teachers and look out for help. But they built strong bonds. They had the same teacher all 4 years, and they ended up building really strong bonds with that. And I think that's something that's lacking in our school because there's a lot of teachers that reach out, but not a lot of students. Students don't always accept a teacher reaching out. But if you have to be with a teacher once a week for 4 years, I think you're going to eventually build a bond with them. So I think that might be something that's important, so that every student has a teacher they can go to at any point in time.
I think it was last year where a certain hour of the day, everyone in that hour would talk about a topic with their teacher, it'd be bullying or anything like that. Maybe if we did that about gun safety, what's at school, then everyone would get the same talk, the same experience kind of. Or if the mental health team went around to English classes or something, since everyone has English, and just did the same talk.
Recently, in most of my classes, and I've been doing this for a while, I've been having these things. My teachers in my entire class are called courageous conversations. And like you were saying, we take some kind of topic like gun safety, and the whole class talks about it, and we all kind of get our own opinions, like exactly what we're having right now, but in our classrooms. And I just think if we had more of those, and I've had tons of teachers who've done this already, I think it's a really benefit, and again, we would have that kind of bond with our teacher, become more comfortable with them.
Honestly, I don't think that kind of thing works necessarily. I think that it has the potential to, but the way that it's being enforced is so relaxed. Like the teachers, sometimes they don't put it on and they don't talk about it. Sometimes the kids aren't engaged because a PowerPoint isn't engaging enough. A video from the 90s isn't engaging enough, I feel like that's where that becomes an issue.
What measures do you think should be taken so that it would be more effective?
Honestly, I think I really like the idea that Sophie was saying with the guidance counselors and stuff, because I don't think that they do, or I don't think that I get to see my counselor enough, but I also think there needs to be a balance between their workload too. So I think, I don't know, something.
Greater access to counselors?
So we kind of touched on the next 3 questions that we have. Like what outside efforts could provide students with safe spaces in times of need, and how can students encourage other students to enforce student issues and stuff. So I kind of wanted to skip to number 9 because we're right on that topic. So how do we convey to students that bringing a weapon to school is a bad idea? Should we go to the root of the problem, or?
I feel like I said earlier, we just need to make sure that every student feels safe. Every student needs to have an outlet, no matter what's happening. They just need a place to go. Because I don't think that anybody brings a gun or a weapon to school with the plain intent of, I plan on hurting somebody today. I think it's more of a, if this happens to me, then how am I going to protect myself?
I think that it's sort of understood that it's a bad idea, but sometimes I feel like bad ideas are reinforced with the negative repercussions that happen when something like that happens. So if a student brings a weapon to school, they're probably going to get expelled, or they're almost definitely going to get expelled, and all of these negative things happen to them, and that's really all that we see. And it's justifiable for all of that to happen, of course, but I think there needs to be more incentive into not bringing a weapon to school. There needs to be other options, because I feel like that's very much a last-ditch effort, sort of, and I think we know I think we all understand that it's not a good idea. And so I think the fact that a student has resorted to that means that there's not enough things proactively to help them with that.
I think another big reason why kids bring guns to school is because they don't know how serious the consequences are. So just saying, hey, if you bring a gun to school, you're probably going to go to jail because it's against the law. And just making it clear to them that this is not okay, and bad stuff is going to happen to you if you put other people in danger.
Ari, did you have something to add?
I think you just need to make kids more aware of the fact that what impact it's going to
I think not only like bringing a weapon to school, but also what happens next after that is like teachers making sure they're not profiling students, making sure that these kids that are brown aren't being targeted. I feel like that is an issue in itself that we could talk about for a while, but I feel like that next step after that is also extremely important.
I agree with what you said. I feel like at times we are too soft on how we address things and how we say, oh, well, we don't like completely address it and give them the hard facts and consequences that we should. And we give them the touchy feely, let's control your feelings and see how we go from there. But this kind of starts with making sure that students are safe outside of school and inside of school. Because if they're not feeling safe in either place, they're going to go to options like bringing weapons and doing things that could potentially ruin their futures and stop them from getting an education. And it's not, and it impacts the families too. So like families that have to relocate to take these students to other districts and other places if they are allowed to go there. And sometimes I feel like we target people because of what we think they might do, and we just jump to the worst conclusions about something. And I don't feel like that's
Yeah, so I'm gonna like go into like your position right now and not act like moderator, because my friends and I have had a conversation about this, and we were thinking about like an educational program in like elementary school or middle school that just keeps building on each other every year, or gets implemented into classes like health and other like necessary need-based classes, and like it would teach like what the process would happen once you bring a gun to school, like what administrators would do to you or do with like everything that would happen in all the little aspects of that. So I wanted to hear like your thoughts on like we should have a program when kids are younger or if we shouldn't.
Yeah, and are these like issues that we need to address at a younger grade level?
I think we as a culture shelter our children, which is not at all a bad thing. But I think that this is something that needs to happen earlier on, because there comes a point where I've known about this, and maybe I even know more about these things than my parents do even, and I think that that needs to be addressed and needs to be addressed earlier and younger, like you said.
Yeah, I think that would be a really great idea because we really do need to equip our schools and our programs with new resources to handle these new problems. If these kids aren't feeling safe and they're doing this, like bringing weapons to school in a last-ditch effort to try and solve a problem, then we need to give them these problem-solving skills like earlier on so that they can learn how to handle these problems later.
Let's hear some voices from the squad room here. Do any of you have opinions on this?
Yes, I think it's a great idea that kids, like it always starts early. I mean, last time the person who brought the gun was a freshman, and honestly it's pretty young to me. And if like this started in elementary, hopefully in middle school, like I don't think he would have done that. Like if they had that hope.
I think implementing into our younger schools about gun safety is also so important, but I think I'm 15. I should not be here having to talk about this, but here I am. I have an 11-year-old brother that is having to deal with all these things going on at his middle school. I really do think that it's so important, but I think there's also, I don't want to, I'm scared. I don't want my brother to be scared. He's so young. He should not be having to hear about all these things happening at his school. He's in 6th grade. This is ridiculous.
I feel that at this point in time, like, the talk should probably start 4th or 5th grade. I feel like that's the right age. Since now middle school is kind of heading in that direction of kids bringing weapons. So I feel like that would be a good age.
I was going to say, I feel like making sure, like the way that we enforce those ways within the younger kids and stuff, I feel like that is really up to teachers and how they handle things. I think if we look at what happened at Central, like, I mean, I have like siblings that go there, so I heard from their point of views how like crazy it all felt to them and how like they just felt really scared and really like nervous because they didn't know what was going on. So I feel like when it comes to those situations, I think teachers need to really take charge and take contact.
So to combat and prevent issues like Central or other issues like this, how could USC 497 and Lawrence High utilize modern technology to enhance security or educate students?
I think by that program thing that you were talking about, that is a possibility. I feel like that would be a really good idea, just as long as it isn't too sugar-coated, not being like, haha, don't bring a gun to school because that's bad. But it's really hard to engineer a program like that because you don't want to terrify these children, but you also want to make it clear that it's not okay. But I feel like maybe showing them experiences from survivors of school shootings or even people who brought guns to school and were charged, just showing them hey, this is the reality.
What are your thoughts on using QR codes or mass text systems to get out information to students? Or what other ways that we could utilize technology?
I think that's almost a must. One thing that I noticed with one of the more recent incidents at LHS, I didn't even know about it until after the school day was over, and I went home and my mom was like, hey, did you hear somebody brought a firearm to school today? And I was like, what? And so I think we, as a student base, need to know as it's happening. Because that terrified me more after the fact than it would have if I was in this building. It terrified me that I had no idea that that was happening, and I was probably 3 classrooms away. That is more scary to me than I think knowing in the moment would be.
That's a good point, that you wanted to know while it was happening. The only thing I would say to that is the situation that if everyone knows this is happening while it's happening, as long as the student, they know who the student is, they know where the weapon is, I don't necessarily think you need to know exactly what's going on because I think that would have erupted chaos within the whole school, which would be counteracted to what was trying to be done. And if everything, I think after the student is detained, the weapon is confiscated, I think that's a good time for students to know. But I think especially with the circumstances of the last one, I believe it was found in the cafeteria during lunch. I think that's one of those situations where it's like, if everybody knows, that's just panic, crazy, chaos. We don't need that. So I think it's kind of a two-way street. You kind of got to find that the balance there.
Would any of you all like to weigh in on this?
So as Oscar was saying, Oscar's mom or dad, I don't know, but told Oscar that a kid brought a gun to school, and same thing happened to me. I got home and my mom told me the kid brought a gun to school, and it was surprising, but it's happened. Like so many instances, so many types of these cases have happened that it's almost not surprising, and that that worries me because things like this happen so easily that I feel like they're I just feel like it's not that surprising anymore that it keeps happening.
So one option people have brought up is whether we should have metal detectors or not. Do you all think should Lawrence High School have metal detectors? What are the upsides? What are the downsides? What are your thoughts on this?
Yes, I think that there should be metal detectors because we don't know who's bringing guns. The ones who, there are some who've been caught, but I'm pretty sure that people have brought guns that haven't been caught. And the only way to find out is by bringing metal detectors and having stricter security and more cameras.
I personally, I don't want to be out of school with metal detectors. Because when you think of a school with metal detectors, everybody already has their own thoughts about that school, and I don't want to be that school. But if it is what we can do to ensure our safety, I guess it's better. But I still don't want to be known as went to school with metal detectors, and like everybody else was saying, I feel, I'm not exhausted for this question, but it's important. I feel like us not knowing about what was happening during the building while it was happening was truly terrifying, because I don't feel like I should have to go home and have to hear about something that happened during the school day while I was at school. It's a really challenging question to answer, because I do understand that if I would have known about it right when it happened, I probably would have been scared, but to know that it was around me probably all day and I didn't know is worse.
So how do you think is the best way to notify students in that situation? Or anyone else who knows anything?
I'd like to bring something up. I would agree with her on that point. And one thing I want to mention is something you brought up earlier about, it would cause panic. I think in those kinds in situations like this, you kind of have to, weigh your options. So what is the risk of not notifying people about the situation? Like what? Because we all know how this can turn out based on what we've seen on the news, and they like seeing how terrifying the situation, the outcome of the situation can be. So I think, notifying people when it's happening is important, because we don't know how. If I'm being a little, not to be too frightening here, but we don't know how it could turn out. We don't know how bad it could get.
Deshaun, did you have some thoughts?
So I think they did try and tell everybody that it happened, and it was pretty quick. But I think it was the fact that it was through an email. Like, I honestly can't remember the last time that I opened my phone and went through my emails and read them. So I think if we just changed it, maybe went to, I don't know if everybody wants to give the school their number, but I think I check my text messages or social media a lot more than I do emails.
To kind of go back and address the thing that we were talking about, like metal detectors and school safety. I also don't want to become that school that has metal detectors that each morning you got to come through and you got to walk through these things that aren't always guaranteed to stop weapons from being in school. And Dr. Johnson and Dr. Lewis have both told us about this. Like, they worked in school districts where all you had to do was slide a backpack around and it was in there. And I feel like once you bring metal detectors into Lawrence High, you're taking away our uniqueness and our just like environment. You're just putting a damper on what we do here, and not kind of just like not being a school. It's turning into a society where we're not opening up to students and we're closing everything off, and we're like turning into a police state almost.
So how do we maintain that unique environment that we have compared to other schools, while also like protecting privacy, but also keeping our community safe?
I think when Dr. Lewis came to talk to our class, he had mentioned something about it's just sort of installed into the doors, and it just could detect a weapon in the back. Because I don't think that everybody wants to come into school and drop their backpacks every morning and have someone look through it. Because there is some sort of sense of privacy that we should be guaranteed at school, and it's had to be at every single entrance, and it's just like similar to a jail, which is not what we're wanting. But yeah, I feel like those detectors would be a good way to keep some sort of privacy.
Another thing that is kind of terrifying, as we talked about like metal detectors and stuff like that, from what I've grasped, I could be completely wrong, but every incident where a weapon has been brought to school, the only reason that administration or anybody has known about it is because a kid has said something. But what happens when that one kid doesn't say anything? What happens when the worst happens, Like, we have nothing to do. So we have no way of knowing as of right now if a kid brings a gun to school or any sort of weapon, but there has to be some way. But like I said, I don't want to be at school.
I feel like a way that we can not necessarily insure it, but lower the percentage of people who might bring guns. I feel like beefing up on physical security is not the way to go, but emotional security, opening up the floor to students like we're doing now, but like checking in with people, making sure that they're okay is so important. Okay. But because we work, the teachers, the staff, administration, whatever, work really hard to make this school a safe environment and a loving place. And I feel like adding metal detectors or clear backpacks, what have you, will take away that like color from our school. So
I think I was going to talk about in terms of like we were talking about how to let the students know. I think not necessarily emailing everyone, but emailing the teachers, at least during the school day, letting them know first while it's happening, and then having the teachers tell the students in like a respectful way that's like private because they are on classroom. I feel like that is a quicker like way to get things done, at least like in the meantime.
Also, I'd like to go on to that point. I think, when it comes to the idea of, emails or phone calls, I think, if I'm not mistaken, every single student in the building has a MacBook. I think a way we could solve the problem is, and I don't know what the expense of this would be, but we could create, just generally speaking, we could create some kind of program on everybody's MacBook that is specifically designed for the purpose of alerting the entire school if a situation like this would occur. And also to go back on the metal detector idea, not only is it an invasion of privacy, but it's also, when thinking about it, it's also fairly impractical. You'd have to, the expense would be high for sure, and there'd also be a number of, you already have a number of things in your bag that could be made of metal, like you have your phone and things like that. And what would we have to do with the schedule to be able to put all that together? It's just a number of issues with that idea that I just don't think it's feasible. So I think just creating an alarm system in place would help that.
Yeah. So right now, Lawrence has a big thing of over construction and how it's been affecting our students and staff. So how can we ensure in the remodel that safety is at the forefront of every conversation?
I can say personally, and for many students, we talked about the new hallway connection that's going to be built in, and when they first brought it up, connecting schools, I was like, oh yeah, it's going to be like a few glass windows, probably bulletproof, just to make things safer. And the other day I was talking to somebody, and they were like, those windows aren't going to be bulletproof. And I was completely shocked at it, and lost for words that we're spending all this money to make a new school to make it safer, and yet we're adding windows that, we all know what can happen with those. And I'm just saying that it's going to take a lot more than just glass windows and other things, but we're going to need to make construction people and whoever making decisions are going to need to make smart decisions on what they're designing and how it's going to affect students and how it's going to be safe. And even if it costs more money, then maybe we should figure out where we can save some money instead of like beefing up everything and making it look all fancy. Maybe we should focus more on the safety aspect and not so much the, oh, that's nice and shiny aspect of it.
Okay, I think that is really important to talk about, that like the topic of budget or money is really misplaced during a discussion of school shootings or, other students' lives at risk. I think it's definitely a sacrifice we can make as the school district or, as a community to put in new features like metal detectors or different routes in the school, changing construction plans, if it means better safety for students. And I think that also means that teachers, especially in the new part of the building, are responsible for creating exit plans. Because at the end of last year, after there were a few gun incidents, I know all of my teachers were really good about going through their classes and talking to us about what we should do if there was a school shooter situation. And so far throughout this entire year, no other teacher has done that. And I think it's imperative that we do it now, especially with new classrooms and a new campus.
Ava, would you like to weigh in?
talking about like metal detectors or clear backpacks, but then when the district's doing like the remodel, we're not really putting safety into the conversation, because I have so many classrooms where there's like all glass windows, where there's really no place I could hide if something were to happen. You'd have to like go out in the hallway, go somewhere else, or just try to like, I don't know, throw things at them. But I just don't think the remodel is really helping with the safety conversation.
How do you think we could add that to the conversation about construction?
Like what is something that we could do with the new part that hasn't been constructed to fix that problem?
I think we need to learn from what has already happened. Obviously, I don't think that remodeling the remodel is going to be an effective or a cost-effective or time-effective or really anything effective plan. But I think what we can do is learn. I mean, this is a school. But we can take the issues with that and think about it before we institute our next plan. And I don't think students were very much involved in the original planning process much at all. We were included later on in the process, but I think to really, to make it effective for students, we need to be in that conversation from the get-go. Obviously, there's not much we can do now, but there is still so much we can do with the rest of the remodel. We still have so many more steps that we can take action in to have work for us.
And also during the remodel, it's also, I never thought about this, but it was brought to my attention after like the second person brought it to school, but during the remodel right now, there's almost everybody has a classroom in the mods over here. And the fact that there's all these gates, but then there's also just giant gaps where anybody can just like wait outside. And so if they're like, I don't know, looking for someone or just a way in, anybody, it's an easy way in, like maybe during a passing period, and everybody's going through there outside, and then there's not really any safety right there.
Yeah, so that kind of gets in the next question too, like how could students feel safer during construction as they travel from building to building, but also how could we implement something to make students feel safer as they travel, like, or when they're in their classroom with the glass, like is there something we could do with the glass or the gaps in between the buildings?
Just thoughts?
Yeah, obviously the hallway we're talking about is in the art wing, and I know for those specific classrooms, there tend to be secondary offices that are in between the two classrooms, and I think if we could make those a little bit safer, sturdier walls, maybe solid doors, then we could continue to have the beautiful windows and, you know, a safe feeling place to learn.
Elaine, do you have some thoughts on this subject?
Like with the, all the glass, I feel like if we were able to have, a way to, even put shades on it, because, if an intruder's in the building, they're going to see where everybody's at. So if we found, a way to cover them in that kind of situation, I feel like it'd make it just a little bit safer.
To the current, the transition from the modules in the Butler to the main school, I mean, obviously I think it's necessary to have a fence there, but I look at it and I see a prison. I see somewhere that seems very, not necessarily exclusionary, but very cut off.
How do we make it look less like a prison?
Great question, if we're not putting in big windows. I think that a lot of that would come with the atmosphere of the building itself, even paint color choice is a big thing. You know, when that new wing opened up, there was that pink color, and I was like, this is an asylum. But that was fixed, and it looks so much better now. And I think even just simple things like that can really change the feel of a building.
I think, I don't know, display cases, I know in the, what we had before, we had a lot of display cases. And I really like that, and even having artwork displayed right over here by the lunchroom and stuff. I feel even that improved the atmosphere. But then we've been replacing things with TVs and other things like that. And I think that just adds on to the disconnect between these. And I feel even from the different wings, from the science hallway where it's bare, there's nothing really there, and then to the art hallway where there's just all glass and stuff. and display cases, like really pretty display cases. I think even just like improving, like putting something there, yeah.
I feel also another way to be like safer, like when you're outside of the building, is we all have those awful key cards that we have to use. So I think, and there's many times where I go over to by the new weight room area, that door over there, because it would be quicker for me to get over there for my classes. But I go over there many times and I swipe my card, swipe my card, swipe my card, and it just doesn't work. And that happens very often. And many times I'm like, why do we have to have these things? But maybe if we could utilize those and make students, like, even though they're terrible and just, but maybe we can make students like wear those, so as like building staff and administrators and other students, we see somebody wearing those and we know, oh, you're a student here. And like maybe it'd be a better way to identify who should be in the building and who shouldn't be in the building.
How do you think we could better enforce that? Because right now students are supposed to wear them at all times, so how do you think we can better enforce that students actually wear them?
I think that's a really hard thing to enforce. Just because even wearing the ID badges sort of makes it like you're wearing your prison number. I don't know, man. It's hard to enforce that, but I think if you just make it, because
faculty have to wear them all the time, and so how do you think we can like kind of make that a norm for students as well?
I think we just need to make it clear how important it is to them, because I don't want to, but after this I probably will start wearing it because I understand, you know, and just making kids understand that it's for their safety, not for what the administration wants, so they can tell it's for everybody's safety.
The problem with the key cards, one of them, is that people don't like the strings because they think the strings are ugly, and everybody's like, you have to keep that string with the same string. So I feel like if we can personalize our key cards in any type of way that we can, I think that should work. But also, the key cards only open up certain doors, and I think that's another problem because say there is an emergency and I'm not at one of those doors, but I have my key card, how am I supposed to get in? You know what I'm saying? And like for people in the arts, if you park in the front parking lot and you're carrying your tuba case or whatever type of instrument case you have, those doors to the art room don't open. So if there's any type of emergency or just plain, I'm trying to get back in the building to drop my instrument off, I can't get in.
So greater accessibility. So we're going to have to move on to the next question, number 16. How can we ensure student safety outside events such as dances, athletic events, concerts, etc.?
I personally think that like activities like that have so far in Lawrence have been safe. Then the reason for is that there's always like security there, some sort of security. And if they want it to be more safer, then maybe just add more security, I guess. But in my opinion, I don't think they're that safe. At least the ones.
Like the dances and everything, we have the security guards there, and I feel a lot more comfortable with them there because we're all in, you know, the same area. They can they can see, you know what I mean? Whereas in a school like this, we're all so spread out, and I feel like we're maybe lacking in the security department. I think they're just spread too thin. So I think that could really help both here and externally.
I think that's not always true for every student, and I'm sure adding more security guards or even SROs to the school would make a lot of kids feel way more uncomfortable. So I think it's a really hard issue to handle because it's not really so simple as adding extra security guards, and it's probably not really even as simple as adding extra metal detectors. So going back to like what we were talking about earlier and strengthening the mental health team and mental health resources at LHS and starting earlier is really important to prevent these events from happening now.
I can say personally that sometimes when I can notice a certain presence of like more police officers and more security guards. I get that. I feel like at some point in the level that might be safer. But for students that don't necessarily feel comfortable with police officers and security guards, I feel like that would just add more trauma to them because there's times where I've talked to many of my friends and they're like, they don't feel comfortable being around the police officers because they feel their safety at risk for other personal reasons outside of the school, but they feel like that happens inside of the school, and they don't feel like adding more police officers would make that safer.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely one of those people that is not comfortable with police officers. Even just like, I don't know, I remember one time last year, it was like after somebody brought a gun to school or something, and there was, it was like on a Wednesday, so I was here early, and there was just like a ton of police officers just like in the rotunda, walking around and stuff, and it just like really scared me, and I was just like on edge for that whole morning. Not even just like thinking about like guns and stuff, but like thinking about how if they wrongly profile somebody, one of my friends or like me or something, then like that could cause a really like large issue and stuff. And even if that happens at like a dance or something, like, I don't know. It's just like, I feel like that is an increase in safety for people of color.
Yeah, unfortunately, we have to go to our last question, and it kind of just like ties everything together and just perpetuates what Margie wants us to do, which is continue our conversation at Lawrence High School. So this is going to be like a series of 6 weeks, and she wants, and we want to know, like, how can we keep this conversation alive, which with a possible event next week or the week after in Lawrence High and in the community.
I think what we have going right now is so amazing, and I think the idea of having these extra weeks of doing more of this, and if we could also use more ideas from us, like, it doesn't have to just stick to us. I think what we've got going like with this group, I think this is great, but getting voices of others, just getting other student voices and that other backgrounds from other students and how they feel like about police officers, getting their view. I personally think that we should add more security guards. I feel comfortable around the police officers because they have firearms, and that is more intimidating to me. And our security guards aren't armed, in that they're such nice people, and they're so like welcoming, and it's just, I don't know. I think.
So more security guards, not SROs?
Yeah.
I think one way to keep this conversation alive is to hear from you guys. I mean, you guys showed up, and thank you all for that. And I think, I don't know what's planned for the next weeks, but I think something that could be really beneficial is a talk with the community, because we've talked a lot about including the community in this, and I think that's what we need to do to create something impactful.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is really, what's going on right now is really big for you guys to all see this. Our administrators, both at the district level and our school level, are very supportive of us as students. Last year there was an incident with guns. I think I DM'd Dr. Lewis on Twitter, and he was in our studio classroom the next day, and we had a conversation with him about that. We had this incident last month. It was last Wednesday, and Dr. Johnson wanted to be with Stuco on Tuesday morning. So I'm really proud of that, and I'm proud that this is Thursday. This is a week and a day from the incident. And I think that's really big to see, this quick turnaround. And there's so many people in the community here. And there's so many people listening to student voices. And if the people in the audience haven't noticed, there hasn't been an adult talk in over an hour. And I think that's huge.
I really think that's something that needs to happen. I know it can be kind of chaotic, and I do agree that like this kind of environment that we have right now is very helpful. So maybe like doing something like pulling out smaller groups throughout the school day, so they, I don't want to say like are forced to, but like can talk about it and do have a space where they don't feel like rushed or like they can't talk about it because like they have to get their work done like right there, where it's just like solely like sort of an assembly.
So small groups brainstorm in assembly?
Yeah, just so it's, and during the school day, because the fact is like an event like this that's happening after school or like not during school hours, it's less likely to attract a crowd because, you know, everyone has things going on and maybe some people that did want to attend like weren't able to attend. So if it's something that is happening during school, we're all going to be here. We can all talk about it.
Yeah, I think honestly, like, I remember, I don't even know when I think it was last year or something. Dr. Lewis came in and they just like picked different students and like talked about issues within our school and stuff, and just like in the library classroom. And it was just like really like all different kinds of students, and it was really cool, even though there were like administration there, and that's kind of intense. But I think having those administrators there really made anybody that said anything like really like heard and stuff, and they like stuck around for a little bit and like talked to the students and stuff, which was something that was really amazing to happen, because like I don't know how like in the past few years, like a couple of years ago we had like a forum like this, except no students were really talking, and students had to like fight for their right to like have a moment to say something. And I think that having these discussions and seeing the progress that's been done is really amazing.
I'd actually like to bring up what you mentioned earlier. That's actually a really good idea. In fact, I would actually go on to say that like maybe we should make this set up, you know, a full-blown program. You know, that might actually be, this might actually be something we could consider like putting in as like a monthly, maybe even weekly thing. And there's two things I want to mention. Well, okay, just one. And it kind of relates to a previous question, but I really just have to.
Okay.
You know, we're talking about, and I'm not trying to blame anybody here, because there shouldn't be any blame on, you know, anybody in the situation other than. But, you know, we're talking about, you know, it's the staff's responsibility and like the parent responsibility, and of course we should. But I think also in your day, like when it comes to students, in your daily life, you have to, you know, I think it's really important to remember that, you know, just to be kind to people. You know, you got to be, you know, no matter who it is, no matter, you know, what's going on in your daily life, you just try to remember to be kind to people, because at the end of the day, that could really boost, you know, mental
So we're going to hear from Trinity, and that's going to be our last one for tonight.
Whoa, guys, in the circle, I'm really proud of us, because I know it took a lot. Like, I've been shaking this whole time, and I've been shaking. So I'm really proud of us that we were all here and got to like express our voices and what we thought. And I'm really proud of everybody. Thank you for all showing up. It actually means a lot. And I feel encouraged seeing this in their faces. But at the same time, I'm very discouraged, because I look into the crowd and I see all these empty seats. And sorry, this is an issue that impacts like our day-to-day, and it impacts our safety. And to see the number of people that are not here tonight is scary. The fact that every single parent at LHS is not here tonight is scary. I know that, I understand that things come up and people have to work and stuff like that, but the number of people that are here is great, but it's not enough. My voice is heard tonight, but it's not heard by everybody that it could be heard by, and it's not heard by everybody that it should be heard by. And we've been talking about safety, but if I walk in here every day and I feel unsafe, I think at least I can get an hour and 30 minutes every time. Nobody's in the building for you to be scared of.
Yes. Let's get a round of applause for our speakers.
We've heard a lot tonight. And I knew coming in that we would hear a lot tonight. Because this is where we're going to begin. So these same students that you heard from tonight, when we come back in here tomorrow, we'll be open for ice day. When we come back in here on Tuesday, the work begins. So everything that you heard, we're going to make a comprehensive list. And we're going to go to this team to help us prioritize. And then when we go to this team, I'm going to have you take that information and then you're going to present it to the faculty instead. It's not just a conversation. It's about action. But if we don't listen, we can't move forward. And listening means that sometimes you hear some things that kind of make your backbone straighten up. But we're going to do what is best for Lawrence High School. How many people learned something tonight? Raise your hand. That was the purpose. Is that we would listen and that we would learn. I want you to know that I am so very proud of the people around this circle. This is your school. I'm the one that's privileged enough to get a chance to come into your world. So I want this to be the best for you. You said a lot tonight. We've got some work to do. But that's okay. Because that's what life is about. You don't get everything perfect. You don't get everything right. But what we strive to do is to ensure that when you walk out of Lawrence High School, you are fully equipped to navigate not only your future, but to navigate your life. That's what our goal is. So those that are on the outside, we thank you for listening tonight. This is real. This is not made up. This is not scripted. This is real life for our students here at Lawrence High School. I would like at this time for you to go around loudly, introduce yourselves so people know your names and your grade. Whoever wants to start.
My name is Sophie Rockersturm. I'm a junior.
My name is Emma Francis Smith. I'm also a junior.
I'm Jack Stoll, a junior.
I'm Ava Tempe. I'm a sophomore.
I'm Gary Smith. I'm a sophomore.
I'm Jonathan Larson, I'm a senior.
My name is Tristan Chavez. I'm a junior.
My name is Aria from AGS.
I'm Justice Ellis, and I'm a senior. I'm Elena Payne, and I'm a junior.
I'm Jelani Reagans, and I'm a junior.
I'm Trinity Shorter, and I'm a junior.
I'm Mateo Kaluska-Gira, and I'm a senior.
I'm Oscar Schmidt, I'm a junior.
I'm Mia Robinson, I'm a senior.
My name is Grace Adams, and I'm a freshman. I'm Amelia Vasquez, I'm a senior.
I'm Deshaun Lewis, I'm a senior.
I'm Bryce Smith, I'm a senior.
Please give them another round of applause. I would be remiss if I did not open the floor to Dr. Lewis, who wrote the entire time.
Good evening. I'm actually meeting with pride, as if I was standing here as a proud father of these amazing scholars tonight. No need to be nervous, you did excellent. You also let me know we need to have some pretty streams for that. But filled with sadness that we have to have these conversations. You know, 2 years ago this month, I stood in this cafeteria as people were coming to meet who the potential next superintendent would be. The room was full of people. And I said, this community really supports its schools. I could have easily said, wow, they just want to come out and see me. But I saw that time and time again. Last February, I stood in the same cafeteria after the second gun incident here at Lawrence High. Standing room only. Again, this community supports its schools. And then tonight, I too share the sentiments of the empty seats. But I'm the eternal optimist. I believe that everyone that is here tonight was supposed to be here. I often say people that are here were probably preaching to the choir. Well, guess what the choir does? Sings the good news, right? So my charge to you tonight is to do just that. Sing the good news of what you heard from these amazing scholars tonight. And when I stood in this cafeteria back in February, yes, the adults talked. We had our partners, Be Smart, here as well. Deb Boatwright, she talked. And I had a group of students up here at the front. And after it was over, I immediately went to them. I said, how did it go? How did I do? And they said, it may have been you. He said, it would have been nice to hear from students. And at the next meeting at Free State, guess what? We did hear from students. But tonight, it was all about the students. The day that we stop listening to our students as educators should be the day that we pack our bags and say, I'm no longer in the field of education. We cannot afford to not listen to our students. They live this every single day. When I heard scholars say, I'm scared. When I heard scholars say, oh, it's normal. It's a sense of normalcy around guns. No, that shouldn't be. And so it is incumbent upon all of us to take some ownership in this. Even the students, I appreciate the comment about just being kind to one another. There again, students fearing for their life or feeling threatened from other students that are no longer in our buildings. But if we just would be kind to one another, right? And so I love the setup of this tonight because for me it signifies that this community is wrapping our arms around our students. And we have to do that. Now, sadly, the 3 weapon incidents that happened here, guns all came from home. The first day of school back, the weapon came in this building, came from a home. That same day, Douglas County Sheriff Department was passing out free gun locks. I'm not going to get into the gun ownership. I don't care if you own a gun, but what I do care about, and it's my job to protect these individuals, all 1,600, all 12,000 in this district, lock them up. Separate the ammunition. There is something each and every one of us can do. It's just those constant reminders of what we need to do to make sure that we're protecting our students. And so again, I want to say thank you all for what you shared with us tonight. I learned a lot. But not only that, this is just not a show.
No.
Now it's time to act. There are some things that we can do in this building. There are some things that we can do as a district. We heard tonight. What are we going to do? I do want to thank the administration here at Lawrence High School, Dr. Johnson, Mark Pruitt, so Dr. Broheimer, Dr. Rao. Can we please give them a hand? Our amazing, phenomenal Lawrence High staff. If you're a Lawrence High staff, please stand. Thank you. Because just like our scholars have to live this every day, You have to live it every day as well. We want to make sure that we're keeping you safe as well. I could not do what I do without a supported board, and I think we have almost all of our board members here tonight. If you're a board member, please stand. Thank you. When I say this board is supportive, they're supportive of the work that we're doing. They're definitely supportive of ensuring that we are keeping all of our students and staff safe in all of our buildings. And so again, I want to say thank you all for being here. Representative Ballard, please stand. After day in session, she's here. I was with her this morning at the MLK celebration in Topeka, and yet still she's here. I would encourage you to please stop by the Be Smart table. You've heard me say this before, schools can't do it alone. The day that we think that we can do this work alone, whether it's ensuring that our scholars are academically ready, socially, emotionally prepared, we have to make sure that we're keeping our students safe. And so we can't do this work alone as well. And so we have partnered, a true partnership with Be Smart, and I do encourage you to please stop by their table. I have an important decision to make, so I'm going to have to...
Go ahead and say it.